Now, I don't know how cold it is where you are at, but especially right now with this massive cold front that is coming through the southeast, it is freezing here in Western North Carolina. And so whether you are dealing with some extra cold weather, you are maybe having an appliance down or something, and so you're needing to figure out how to stay warm in freezing temperatures, here are some of my tips, even if the power goes out, from the mountains of Western North Carolina to stay warm. Hey there friends, I'm Heidi the Heavenly Minded Homemaker, and while we are no strangers to dealing with odd weather, born and raised in the desert of Southern California and then living out here in North Carolina, we've kind of done a pretty big array of different weather type events. And going through Hurricane Helene this early fall into summer, you know, that was a whole different level of catastrophe to try to get through. And so now we've been dealing with some massive cold fronts coming through. We've had power outages, we've had internet outages, you know, which affects us in a different right. But now we're trying to figure out how to stay warm when we are sitting in very, very low temperatures. And since I know we are certainly not the only ones going through this, I thought it would be a good idea to grab a warm beverage, sit down with you all, and share some of my top tips for surviving the freeze. And so I figured I would share things to just kind of those common sense things that I think we forget sometimes or don't realize. We get so used to having, you know, normal temperatures and normal heating and cooling and all of those things. So some tips and tricks to share there, and even some tips and tricks to share for if the power goes completely out, because we have to deal with that here as well, especially since Hurricane Helene. We have been having more and more kind of infrastructure debacles going down because of how much damage was done and then how strong these storms have been coming through here since then. And so we're going to kind of cover a little bit of everything. So if you want to grab a hot cup of tea or something and come and sit down and join me, let's get into it. Now, the first tip has to be bundle up. Do not forget your layers. Let me just share this. I know it's simple, but I feel like I have to say it even to my kids so often that I might as well say it here on the video. My grandmother was raised, her parents went through the Great Depression and, you know, were very, very frugal. And my grandmother was raised the youngest of her family, but definitely, you know, with that upbringing. And when we were kids, we would constantly go and try to turn up the thermostat because her house was always cold in the winter. And out in the desert, it gets really, really cold in the winter. And so we'd always go and try to dial up her thermostat. She would always yell at us to just put on more layers, put on more layers. And she'd always walk around. She'd be, you know, dressed. She'd have her like leggings underneath. She'd have her bathrobe on if we were home, or extra sweaters if we were out. And that was always her answer, to make sure to bundle up before going and just turning up the thermostat. But I think for so many of us, we've never known life that didn't include central heating, that we could just go over and click a button or turn a dial and all of a sudden it got warmer. Well, our family, we've been living without central heating for 7 or so years now. And so since we've had to adapt to kind of this, like, we're not off grid by any sense of the word. That's not where we're at yet, but we also don't have kind of normal modern things in our house in many different ways. And so we've had to kind of find ways to get a little bit more kind of crafty with staying warm, especially when we're hitting, you know, single digit temperatures. And so making sure that you have on layers. I tell my kids this all the time whenever they're like, oh, I'm cold, can we, you know, get a fire going or get this? I go, yeah, but before we just burn through all of our wood, which we'll get to in a minute, make sure you have layered up. I have fleeced line tights and leggings that I pick up from like TJ Maxx or anywhere inexpensive. And I'll try to put a bunch of the stuff together and link it down below if you're curious what I'm talking about. I'll put it down there. But I always have those underneath my pants. I always have multiple tops on, right? I even have it hanging over on my chair there, an extra little like cardigan I can put over this sweater if I need to. I will put multiple pairs of socks on, right? Make sure you layer up before anything else. That is going to make such a difference. Even if you're just trying to cut back on how much heat you're running so your power bill isn't getting too high, sometimes it just gets so cold out that no matter how high you set your heater to, it's never really going to come to that temperature. And so layer up. Tell the kids you cannot complain you're cold if I don't see socks on your feet, slippers on your feet, multiple layers on your bottom half and multiple layers on your top half, right? Layer up. I keep little blankets on absolutely everywhere you can sit in our house. So if you need an extra layer on you, we got you covered. Now, especially in areas where you are prone to power outages, but honestly, I think this is a good idea to have regardless of it's the norm or not. Again, talking from outside of Asheville, North Carolina, where hurricanes are not the norm here, and we were all practically wiped off the face of the map a few months ago. So regardless of where you live, it would probably be wise to invest in some alternate heat sources. We rely on the grid way too much. And it's actually where a partner that recently reached out to us is going to come into today's video, because I really want to give Goldenmate a big kind of shout out for some of the products that they have that really are so helpful. But I'll explain that in a second. We need to have alternate heat sources, whether that is you have a fireplace, right? When we came and looked at this house nearly 10 years ago, it was a really big deal for us when we walked in and we saw our massive fireplace in the living room. And we were like, oh, good. Okay, we're moving out to the mountains. If something were to happen, we want to make sure that we have an alternate heat source. And who doesn't just love a wood fire burning? Come on, it's like the best thing ever. So we were so thankful to have that. Maybe it is a kerosene heater. Those are really big out here. I'd never heard of that before in California, but out here, everybody has kerosene heaters. Maybe it's a propane heater. Maybe it's one of, you can get those little like self-contained camping stoves. You do have to have a way, obviously, to port it out through a chimney of some sort, but making sure that you have some sort of alternate heat source is really, really important, because again, you never know when something might happen and you are not going to have the ability to just rely on your central heating. For us, like I said, we've gone about 7 years now without central heating. We have these space heaters that we have found that we love so much. We have gathered up a bunch of them. We use them here in the house. We've shared them with others. They're so incredibly important. I will link them down below if you guys are interested, but I love these because yes, on a normal day when everything's working, I can connect them through Wi-Fi, I have them all on an app, I can set, when they're gonna run and what temperature and for how long. They're very energy efficient, and they're really fantastic to be able to use in the event, even if you do have a central heating unit. If the temperatures are dropping as low as they currently are right now for most of us in the Southeast, having something else that you can add with it to try to help get that heat in can be really, really beneficial. And so we rely on the space heaters that we have, and they really do such a fantastic job. But again, there's that point of, I just want to say it here again. I know I've said it a handful of times in recent videos, but making sure that we have alternate sources. There is something about having backup systems that is really, really important. And so when Goldenmate reached out to us and they had this workstation power source, and they asked if it would be something that would benefit us, especially after what we just recently went through with Hurricane Helene. Well, when Hurricane Helene hit, we have the HMH Collective. It's our membership group where we do special studies and gatherings and things like that. And right now, we're going through the Bible in 90 days. And you can totally come join us. The link is down below. But I was trying to get these videos out because, again, the storm was coming. It wasn't a full hurricane by the time it hit us, but it wasn't supposed to be anything, we didn't think, more than just a little extra rain. We weren't expecting to have, towns literally wiped, down to the river, and, no power, no internet, no anything for a very, very long time. And so I had been uploading videos that needed to go out for our study. It was left sitting with just a few minutes to go when the storm hit and the power went out. We did not regain power for a week after that initial hit. And so what I love so much about this Goldenmate product is it is a battery bank that you plug in and then you plug your devices into it. It will continue to charge and stay fully powered while you have power on. And the moment your power goes out, it will automatically, it's literally seamless. It will switch over to its internal battery to continue powering your devices. So like for us, if I would have had this product during the hurricane, I could have had my computer plugged into it. I could have had my internet, modem and router and all of that plugged into it. And everything would have continued to keep working even if to just get me through those last few minutes that I needed for that video to go up. So I think for any of us that work from home, or honestly just having a backup system, because I think all of us, if we're being honest, we kind of just rely and take for granted that the power is going to be on, it's going to work. We don't probably have a good system set up for what if it all goes down. Be it a storm, be it, just an accident or something that happens. And so being able to have this product, which they sent it over for me to try out, and I am like, why have we not always had one of these? Everybody needs to have one of these. I have my computer plugged into it. It has 4 different outlets on it. All of them are backed with surge protectors. So that's another thing with power outages and things going back and forth. You don't have to worry about your devices being ruined. It automatically charges itself as you're going, and it has an amazing little LCD panel on it. So you can see exactly how much power is coming in, exactly how much power is going out. You can see exactly how charged the batteries are. And I think that's really, really cool that you're able to just from a click of a button see all of that right on the LCD screen. And the fact that I can just have that peace of mind of knowing that my stuff is plugged in here, it's protected from surges, my computer isn't going to just, wipe out in the middle of something. If the power does go out and I need a way that I can charge devices or run different things, I can easily come over here and plug them into the additional outlets on this and get the power that I need, while also being able to monitor exactly what I have left. It is compact and easy to put together. Again, something I wish we had during the hurricane, because there were some places that were getting power back. And if I would have been able to just take this, go there, charge it, bring it back, be able to do that for an extended power outage, that would have been really, really helpful. Again, because yes, it's nice to have those big, huge backup things, but sometimes you need something a little bit smaller, a little more portable, and this would have been a great fit for that. And so if you guys are interested, you are looking for something that you could have to back up and have that peace of mind, but also that preparedness of, if the power goes out, I have something here. I highly recommend this Goldenmate product. And of course, I will link everything down below for you all. I love that it was so simple and easy to set up and put together. You literally take it out of the box, plug it in, hold the button for, I think it was 3 seconds, it all powered up, and that's it. You plug your devices into it, you're good to go. And it's so simple and easy. It sits here by my desk, going at all times. You don't hear it, it's no issue. It now is just that thing that I don't even have to worry about, because it's taken care of. One simple product, it's not using up extra energy, right? It's not like causing any extra anything. And I now have that peace of mind and that backup that, Lord willing, our power goes out again, which it's been doing. I don't have to worry. I'm good. I'm set. I have at least my bases covered to keep going with many of the key devices that I rely on each and every day. So again, little promo, we need to have alternate heat sources, but we should probably have alternate sources for many of the things that power the key components that so many of us take for granted each and every day. Having something like this Goldenmate product is perfect for being able to do that with our devices, computers, even lights, being able to recharge things. Really, it has endless possibilities. If it needs power, this thing is helpful. Go and check it out down in the link below. Now, the next tip has been one that has saved our family so many times, whether the power has gone completely out. We just had a storm that came through, if the power is completely out, we utilize this next tip, or sometimes just when, again, it's as cold as it currently is. I'm thinking in the next couple nights with it getting even colder, it's probably going to be what we move to doing. And that is just focusing on heating smaller spaces. I love when you watch like old movies and things like that, and you see like big heavy curtains over doorways and things like that. It was so that they could close them and they could kind of either block out heat or cold depending on what they were needing to do. When you heat smaller spaces, it really does make it so much easier to be able to manage. I think we kind of just assume that we need all the house to be heated, and that's just not possible. For our family, what we do, since again, we don't have central heating, we have to use different resources. We keep all of our doors shut all day long. There are no doors open in our house throughout the day. We have curtains up on doorways, or, kind of openings that don't have doors on them. So I guess they're not doorways, but openings between different rooms. We will put big, thick curtains up on them So that way we can open them when needed and close them when we need to keep heat either in or out of the space. Being able to come into a space and get it warm, when you do that, it really makes it so much easier to find that warmth that you're looking for if you can't afford or have the ability, or you're in an emergency situation and you just can't possibly get heat to the entire house. When the power went out the other night, we went ahead and kept the fire going, kept that stoked. And so it was a perfect spot where we were able to just bring all the kids in and kind of lay them all in front of the fireplace, where that way they could sleep on the living room floor, safe and protected, of course, from the fire, but with the older kids taking turns and stoking the fire as the night went on until the power came back. Because we were focusing on heating that one space, it was really simple to keep it warm, whereas the back of our house, where the bedrooms are, was freezing cold with the power outage. The living room was nice and warm and toasty, and everybody was able to get a good night's sleep. Even in extreme of that, we keep a cheap tent just in our basement and our supplies, because we've had times where it goes completely out. And so being able to set up a small tent in the living room and fill it with all the blankets and bedding and everything that you need, curl up in there, close up the tent, and sleep in that is a really great way, again, to kind of hold in that heat. All pile up in together, hold in that heat, and stay warm. So always remember, if you are trying to find ways, power outage, or just it's really, really that cold outside, focus on closing off the areas you're not using and just put that heat in the space that you are. Whether you're getting one of the space heaters like we shared down below, or you have a fireplace or whatever it is that you have going, if you kind of concentrate all of that into one area, focus on heating that one space or two spaces, you're going to start to feel so much better. Now, this fourth tip can be helpful with power, without power, and that is having things on hand like hot water bottles or even electric blankets. Again, we don't have central heating, so we have to get crafty with how we heat spaces all the time. All of our children have a heated blanket on their bed. I have one, it's a twin size, but it's one that my husband and I kind of share. So that way it wasn't that costly, but still it works well. When it gets this cold out, it can be really hard to heat this. We usually, on the times that we do lose power, it never fails that it's overnight. And we do not run our space heaters all throughout the night regardless. And so yes, it does get pretty chilly inside the house at night. Being able to have an electric blanket on our bed is a really great way to be able to give you some heat, kind of help you to fall asleep warm and toasty, and even kind of turn it on in the morning to warm up a little bit before you get up, but to be able to stay comfortable and warm. I think of times when we've had sick kids, or even the kids are outside playing in the snow for too long and they need to come in and warm up, and you're trying to find ways that you can easily warm someone up. Having an electric blanket is a great way to do that, and it's something that we utilize most frequently. Sometimes even when it just hits these numbers that it is so cold, and no matter what we do, the house just never really gets that warm, I will bring my electric blanket out and sit on the couch with it, and we'll all kind of cozy up on the couch together. Maybe we're watching an old movie or something like that, and we all kind of pile on all together. I snuggle up the kiddos, we wrap the electric blanket over us and allow it to really warm us up. Our friend Sabrina and her family, they all came with these amazing old school hot water bottles, and I love them so much. I'll link them, like I said, I'll link all the stuff down below, but you just fill it up with hot water and it holds the heat for so long. And being able to just walk around with one of those, or kind of sit it on your lap and put a blanket over you, that's a great thing to have on hand, because of course, yes, if the power goes out, my electric blanket's not going to be very good. But if I have a hot water bottle on hand, I can always heat up some water on a fire, be able to pour it into that and have something to add some warmth. That's a wonderful thing to be able to, put into a bed at night, or even put down at the bottom of the bed to help keep your feet warm. So things like that I think are really important to have on hand, especially when the winter months are coming up and we know that these extreme colds can happen, and an electric blanket or a hot water bottle can go a long way. I feel like these next 2 points are kind of one in the same, and that is fill up with warm things. Keep that kettle going, right? My kids drink tea and we make cocoa all the time. I've got this here, of course. I have even a warmer that I can set my mug on to keep it warm. Being able to have warm things, broth, soups, stews, right? When you fill yourself with warm, hot things to eat, it is going to help you warm up regardless of how cold it is. In the same way, we do a lot of oven cooking and baking when it comes to the winter months, because that residual heat from the stove really does help warm up at least a space in our house there in the kitchen. And so I think that's another one. Whenever we cook something, we always will leave the oven door open until the oven cools off, right? So when it's done cooking, we leave that door open, let all of that heat come out and fill the space. There's many different things that I think, again, when we kind of take things for granted and just expect them to be there, we don't realize that we can get heat from this, right? Like I remember my mom when we were kids, she would always put big pots of water on the stovetop and just let it boil. And it would always be so lovely because you'd go down to the kitchen on a cold morning and you'd kind of have that extra moisture and humidity, of course, in the drier, cold winter months, but then the heat coming off of that. And sometimes she'd add, clove or cinnamon or something to it so it smells so delicious as well. But there's so many little things like that that we can do that's really going to help us add some heat back into our space, especially when we're struggling to keep it warm and kind of just cozy and comfortable in the first place. And so cooking lots of things, having a pot of stew or soup that just kind of simmers on the oven all day, there's some heat that's being left off of that. Anything that you're baking, a casserole or anything that you have kind of going, now is the time to cook those things that need a little bit longer to cook and to go. You want that oven to be nice and warm. And as soon as you're done cooking, open up that door, let all of that heat out, soak it up and enjoy it while you have a meal with your family. Having something warm to eat and to drink, having the heat coming off of the stove, that is going to be very lovely in these very, very frigid days, especially that we have coming up here this week. And my last tip for you here, which hopefully these have been helpful. You guys will have to let me know down in the comments below. Which of these have you tried? Which of these maybe were surprised you kind of just didn't even think of? And which things would you add to the list? That's always a good thing to know too. Leave us a comment down below so we can keep a good running list to keep us all warm here. But that is simply to get up and get moving. I think that's something that I know I sometimes will forget because I get so cold. I just want to bundle up and not move. But moving warms you up. Now, we are dealing with lots of debacles still, thanks to, again, the hurricane, but our barn was destroyed in the hurricane, and so we've had to be doing all kinds of different things with our homestead because of, just trees that have come down and changes we've had to make and not having the barn and all of those different pieces. And so it was so interesting because the other day, as the front was really starting to come in and our temperatures were dropping, we had outdoor projects that had to get finished and things were only getting more and more frozen. So we really had to push the limit there to get the tasks done. And it was so amazing because we're all out there, adults, kids, everybody, we're all out there working together to get the job done. And it was amazing how warm we got, right? When we started the project, we're all bundled up and we're all a little grumbly, okay? I'll be honest. We were all a little grumbly because it was cold and nobody wants to go outside, but we had no choice and we had to get out there. By the time we were done, we were all so warm. We came into the house. It didn't even feel that cold anymore. We were able to kind of have this really nice and enjoyable evening because we had gotten up and done so much physical activity that we really had warmed our bodies up. And so sometimes I'll try to remind myself of that when we have these really, really cold days. And yes, all I want to do is just plop on the couch, bundle up in my electric blanket and watch probably too many episodes of Dr. Pol or something. You just want to curl up and watch something on TV that you can binge through because you're cold and you don't want to do anything. But I'll try to remind myself, I'll get up, I'll vacuum, maybe I'll run my vacuum mop, I'll, tidy up around the house or get on my walking pad and just walk for a while. And it's so amazing how not only do you feel so much better because movement is so good for our bodies, that's how God designed us, so it's what we need to do, but you really do warm up from the inside out. And so I think that's something that deserves noting here on the list, that when it's really cold and your house, maybe you can't even get it up to temperature, the power's out or whatever it is, get up and get moving. And that is going to help you bring some heat back into your cold and weary bones. So friends, as we are getting ready to bundle up for a very, very cold week here in North Carolina, and maybe you are too, depending on where you're at, hopefully these tips here are some that can be useful, whether you are just trying to stay warm and whatever heating source you have doesn't seem to be cutting it, whether you're unfortunately facing power outages or whatever it might be. Hopefully this will be a little bit of help for, hey, maybe even that rainy day that it happens and you go, ooh, remember that? And then it helps out. Again, let me know down below any other things you would add to the list, and make sure you check out the Goldenmate link. If there's anything I mentioned that you don't see a link for, just leave me a comment. I'll be happy to get that for you. Again, I think having these conversations, talking about even the most common sense of things that we can remember and putting a little more focus into having some backups is definitely a conversation worth having, especially in a crazy weather season we all, I think, tend to be in, especially here with everything that's been going on as of lately. So hopefully this is a help for you all. If you guys want to see more things along the lines of kind of preparations and backups, be sure to check out this playlist down here. And if you're curious how I am moving into a nice little season of hibernation to restore and renew myself here in these cold days, be sure to check out this video right up here. I'll see you over there. Bye, friends.